Righto, Money Miners, holy snap and duck shit. We've got some shit to talk about today. The rise of the Murchison. The Murchison's back, boys.
Mate, this is...
Fuck, it didn't take much. There's just a little bit going on, but the Murchison's back. You heard it here first. And
Mayhem.
Oh.
Mayhem in the Murchison.
Dude, this could be the catalyst, pardon the pun, for something fucking big.
Yeah, mate, it's all happening.
On the back of Ramelius, Westgold, and then a bit of money getting tipped into one of the hopefuls, and Jesus Christ, we're onto it.
It's Spartans fly. It's just, there's a lot going on there. There's nuance. There's a lot of nuance, and we're going to try and tease it out in a kind of form that's palatable to some people.
I reckon me and you are going to argue, and I can't wait.
Bring it on.
And mate, God, old BHP and Anglo taking a back seat in today's show, but we'll give you the update, which is it going to be the last one? We don't know. Let's kick it off.
No, it is. Definitively.
But don't they have 6 months to put in another thing, if they want?
Forget about it.
Just
forget about it. It's too hard now. Yeah.
It's too hard. Anyway. Right. Ramelius, Westgold. Now, this all happened. All the shit happens when we have our Wednesday no show.
Yeah.
But, hey, we've collated more data in the process and information. So
I think we've got the best information out there.
Right. Trav, you've got your bloody whole everything downstairs into this story. Just rip in, mate. Give us the spiel.
We've had some drama, Matty. What drama we've had in the Murchison over the last few days? And to summarise what we've seen, it started yesterday morning. We come in on our day off, Matty. We're like, day off, cool.
But isn't it funny the drama was initiated because of somewhere that wasn't in the Murchison? In a way.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I see what you mean. But, there's history here too, right? And so what we found out was that, there was this media release that landed from the Takeovers panel, and we discovered that Ramelius had submitted an application to the Takeovers panel. It's a bit confusing when you first read it, but in essence, Ramelius appears to take issue with Westgold's deal with Karora. They reference a few things here. One in particular is they talk about this, what I interpret as must be a frustrating standstill agreement that is in place that kind of prevents a superior proposal being kind of put on to Westgold, potentially by Ramelius. That's the read through. And there's this, the reference to these standstill provisions from pre-existing confidentiality agreements. It explicitly mentions that Ramelius had a confidentiality agreement with Westgold in November. And so this lands, and it's a giant what the fuck moment to start with. Just look at the stark replay on how both of these companies traded on open. Like Westgold shoots up, Ramelius trades down. In fact, as of now, since all this has come out, Ramelius is they're 8% lower than before the announcement, and Westgold's 5% higher. And like shortly after all of this happens, a Street Talk article emerges, and it says Ramelius approached Westgold for $3 billion plus gold merger. And that's because in that Takeovers media...
Pretty definitive, that title.
It is. You don't have to read the rest after that. The Takeovers panel media release, like I said, there's this sentence there that says Ramelius and Westgold entered a confidentiality agreement themselves in November. So Street Talk reckon it was Ramelius that were the first ones to approach Westgold with a merger of equals, they say.
So a merger of equals indicating a nil premium merger, would you say?
Yeah, they're not equal by market cap, but yeah, that would be the implication.
Okay, so this has happened in November.
Yep.
Do you want to rip the bloody? Do you want to go through the timeline or?
I wrote a question to ask me.
Oh, I'll ask that if you want.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I'll get to the timeline, but I'll build it up a bit.
And is that thing what the fuck is going on? I thought Ramelius was going to buy Karora and that fell over, so Westgold jumped in. Yeah. So what do you think about that, Trav?
I was going to clap, but we'll roll with this. Anyway, so let us add to your confusion with something important I think everyone in general seems to have missed in their commentary on this deal. Yesterday, right, the three of us are here, Ali's here, we're peeling through this agreement doc, the transaction agreement doc between Karora and Westgold uploaded on Cedar, not on ASX, but on Cedar for Karora back in April.
I hate Cedar.
Mate, it's the worst thing in the fucking world to use. I can't believe it exists the way it does, but it does. We have to, anyway. So we're up, and I remember when we first spoke to Ben Bailey, I've got a man crush on Ben Bailey because he's just fucking so good at this stuff.
He's like Regal. He's the first call.
Oh, mate, if I don't understand something.
Ben, you are our regal.
So, like, I remember this. I didn't even need to call him for this one. I remembered it in my head because he left this alpha leak to all of the money miners 8 months ago. You know, one of the things that he looks for is in these transaction docs, you can find out the date that a confidentiality agreement is signed. And that's a bit of a clue on how the whole negotiation piece fell together. So we went into that agreement and we discovered, there it is in the definition section of this legal doc, confidentiality agreement means the confidentiality agreement dated January 22nd, 2024 entered into between Karora and Westgold. So summarise. Now we know that Ramelius and Westgold had entered a confidentiality agreement, including a standstill on the 14th of November. That's per the takeovers panel thing.
Yep.
Westgold and Karora entered a confidentiality agreement dated 22nd of January 2024. That's from that transaction doc I just mentioned. And we know that Ramelius was in exclusivity with Karora right up until the 28th of March when discussions ended pretty abruptly and basically immediately after Karora revealed it was then in exclusivity with another third party, which later we found out must have been Westgold.
So when did the Ramelius exclusivity with Karora commence? Do we know that?
We don't know that.
Yeah.
We don't know that. But basically what we can infer is that everyone has a confidentiality agreement with each other. There's some exclusivity like that the Karora had with each of them at some point in time, but they've all got these confidentiality agreements with each other, presumably all with standstills baked into them, and the timelines absolutely overlap at the same time.
Yeah, so like looking at that, it is, you surmise that Karora entered the exclusivity with Ramelius while they had a CA with Westgold.
Yes, that's okay. You can do that. I mean, let's say, like for example, if there's like a sale process of a company, you enter CAs with a bunch of people. They'll all look under the hood, and at some point you'll enter exclusivity with someone who's the most serious and will probably bid the most. So that's okay. There's nothing untoward there.
You'd want the bank, representing you if you're up for sale or something like that to get a lot of people interested, and then pick out the one.
Build competitive tension. Once you've got an idea of where value is going to sit and you're willing to kind of firm it up a bit, then you can go into exclusivity and that's okay. There's nothing untoward there. So
this confidentiality agreement between Westgold and Karora that was in place before Ramelius and Karora entered exclusivity. What does that mean? Like what's a confidentiality agreement? Like what restrictions does it put on Westgold and Karora if
typically a confidentiality agreement will come about because like the chairman of each company will, like one of them will go to the other and you submit an MBIO, and an MBIO will just basically say we're interested in a business combination subject to mutual due diligence and signing a CA, and basically I'm guessing that these have come about without putting any number on value. It's just saying, look, we think there's merit to a combination. Let's just sign a CA, share our data rooms with each other, go through the numbers, and then we can collectively agree on value. So that's how these things happen all the time. But it doesn't always mean that there's going to be a deal. But normally baked into them, it's a pretty standard thing to have this standstill agreement baked into a confidentiality agreement. A standstill agreement, if you don't know what that is, it's basically it can often be this clause in the confidentiality agreement, which I'm going to refer to as a CA from now on to save my breath, which prevents each company typically from buying any more shares in the other company for the rest of the term of that that the CA stands for.
And that CA, like the one we've mentioned with Westgold and Ramelius, is 12 months for the standstill. Is that standard? Can it be fucking? It can be. It's not of. Yeah, can be anything.
12 months to 24 months is not uncommon to see in this sort of stuff. Yeah. But I mean, they all vary, and these like individual parts are negotiated all of the time. There's more though that we found in that transaction doc that Karora uploaded on Cedar. And this excerpt reads to us like both Karora and Westgold have fiduciary out provisions if a third party proposes a better deal with either party, except if that bid comes from a party subject to a standstill from a confidentiality agreement that remains on foot. And we know that must be Ramelius, who would have CAs with both of them, which have standstills.
Well, you definitely know that they have one with Westgold, but you assume if they're exclusive, 100% they have to have
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So,
fuck me, it's like I don't know what it's like a pizza with 3 different flavours. Like, there's just slices mixed in together. It's the biggest. It's not even a half and half. There's shit overlapping everywhere.
Trav, I think we're at risk of losing people that haven't been as in the weeds as we have.
Just rewind and keep listening until you get it.
I'm going to basically put forward.
You've drawn up a timeline, so run through it.
This is my hypothesis of the series of events that matches the data that I've just talked about, right? And this is not verified. It could be subject to some errors, but based on the information that we've deduced from the publicly available documents, this is what my proposed hypothesis is of the Murchison Mayhem that's unfolded.
I look forward to fucking hearing this.
I reckon Ramelius and Westgold have they've engaged in mutual DD to merge the Murchison miners in early November. And the AFI referred to that as a potential merger of equals, so Ramelius has gone to them, merger of equals. Negotiations have clearly broken down, probably on value, because Westgold probably didn't want a merger of equals, they wanted a premium. Then I reckon Ramelius uses Karora, potential doing a deal with Karora as an alternative, maybe even as a bargaining chip with Westgold. It's well known that Karora have wanted to do a deal with fucking anyone for a long time. They've wanted an ASX listing, the management wants to live in Canada, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. So Ramelius, they actually might have some genuine interest in doing a deal with Karora at the right price, but it's probably not as compelling as Westgold is what I think at the right price. Ramelius end up getting exclusivity with Karora, not Westgold, so they've edged out pole position again, as we've seen happen in the past with Musgrave, if we all remember that. Westgold, who had looked under the hood of Karora in January, as we found out when we went through those docs, they realised that they're second fiddle. They didn't get exclusivity, right? So the potential tie-up of Karora and Ramelius winds up in street talk. It's leaked. I wonder how that could have happened. Who would have the most incentive to leak that one? So Ramelius halts on Thursday, March the 7th. Instead of emerging with an agreed deal post the leak, they come out of halt and they basically just confirm the media speculation and the back trading, stock sells off as you would expect in these kind of M&A trading environments. And I guess it poses the question, because they didn't emerge with an agreed deal, they just emerged confirming the rumours that they couldn't agree at that point in time. It poses the question, was it a bluff all along? Was Ramelius bluffing by saying they're going to do a deal with Karora? Or were they serious, or could they just not agree value or key terms? I don't quite know that bit, but maybe Westgold called the bluff. If so, I don't know. Then Ramelius put out that extended, I think it was 10-year mine plan for their Mount Magnet operations, as obviously it's getting penny high grade. They're trying to convince the market that they've got long-term feed and blah, blah, blah. Share price goes up a bit, but they're playing catch-up at this point, and getting any deal done at a reasonable price gets so much harder to do now that a leak is in public and the share price starts baking in all of this M&A stuff. So it just gets harder to get over the line. And then Westgold comes in over the top. I don't know if this happened before Ramelius' exclusivity ended or not, or after, but it's pretty fucking close, right? Ramelius is left on the sidelines now, right? Because now Westgold has exclusivity with Karora and that deal's off, and bloody Westgold's in on it. So imagine Ramelius there being on the sidelines, their plan A, which I think was Westgold, and their plan B, which I think was Karora, and now in exclusivity with each other instead. So the deal with Westgold and Karora emerges, and the docs explicitly prevent a superior proposal from Ramelius on either party. No wonder Ramelius is pissed, and they go to the takeovers panel.
But if you look at what's happened since they went into Westgold and Ramelius went into this CA in November. Let's say they're talking about a deal.
Yep.
Westgold had a fucking shit quarterly. Gold price has gone up, and look, their share price is pretty much where it was at in November. So you would say, after that quarterly has shit itself, their script is not that good anymore after it shit itself.
Well, who cares?
But Ramelius has gone up. So is that thinking, right, maybe if it was on the table, their script's not valued as much now. They're like, no, we're not fucking doing a deal.
Keep in mind, it's not like the rumour is not that Zepner went to Wayne and offered a premium. He offered a nil premium merger. He's basically saying, give me the keys. All right? You're not paying a premium for that script. He didn't offer a premium for that script, is what Street Talk was alluding to.
It's a bit of a shame though, right? Because the deal between those two is the one that would have
synergies,
the best outcome for shareholders. And there's a lot of other issues getting in the way that we speak about all the time. But here, both these companies going to a couple assets, Karora's assets, miles away from the Murchison. Makes way less sense. They're just trying to get the upper hand on what we think is the ultimate end game. So it's a bit, frustrating if you're a bystander looking there wanting to see shareholder value creation.
But so if you go to before, the question I'm asking is why they didn't agree to a merger, but before Karora.
Because
Westgold?
Because Westgold would be fucking stupid to accept a deal without a premium. Like, shareholders aren't going to, I know.
And if they've got a shit quarter coming up, they'd be even less likely to accept it because their script is going to go down.
There's a peculiar set of circumstances that can actually see these nil premium mergers happen. But especially, I think at the point in time, Ramelius' market cap was twice that of Westgold. You never get a nil premium merger if one company's market cap is twice that of the other. Never. You got to pay premium for that. And
I think let's just look at the personalities as well.
Yeah.
Who's going to run it?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
100%.
Totally.
There's not going to be MD Mark Zepner, CEO Wayne Bramwell, or vice versa.
They are the issues we're talking to.
That has to be one of the big underlying issues.
The companies, I think, the fact that they actually, signed a CA and did DD on each other at some point in time before any of this Karora stuff actually tells me there is a degree of sensibility between those two MDs that think that those companies should come together at some point in time to realise the mergers and synergies. That's a positive. What isn't, and it's not, I don't think it's beholden to either of them that a deal didn't happen at that point in time, because you as an MD of one of those companies be if you want we're open to doing this deal maybe, but you got to pay a bloody 20% premium. That's I don't know what premium was potentially offered at that point in time, or even if a number was put on it. But if you were a Westgold shareholder at that point in time, would you want your MD to do a deal at a nil premium merger, or would you want a premium for it before you to actually sign off and accept that? You'd want a premium.
Yeah.
You'd think so. Unless you're guaranteed a big fucking re-rate as soon as it merges.
Yeah.
But you do, but you do not know.
Yeah.
But okay, so if there's this CA's been put in place between Westgold and Ramelius, does that mean they are could they just be doing mutual DD to look at a friggin' merger in 2 years' time? Or would they do that as a? No. Does it mean it's going to be more an imminent thing?
Yes.
Or they wouldn't do it out of just looking down the road?
No, time kills deals. If you sign a CA and you don't progress that within a month, fucking good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need momentum to get a deal done.
Yeah. Right. So, do you think, based on what's happened with Ramelius going to the takeovers panel, one, do you reckon they wanted Westgold all along, and do they still want them?
I think at the right price, that is what I think at the moment. I think at the right price, it seems that way. Or at the minimum, they appear to definitely want them now. I think otherwise they're playing 5-dimensional chess and they want to blow up the deal to scoop up Karora at a lower price. But that seems far more unlikely to me. I think the read-through here, they don't want this deal to happen, and they want Westgold.
But and this is where I disagree. Not from no fucking financial or banking perspective, just in terms of this has showed Ramelius's hand, this stuff coming out, and I don't think anyone ever knows what Ramelius is doing, but now they do. If that's true, which is that's why I just don't believe it until I see it.
I think that'd be a fair read if they showed their hand and had zero probability of an outcome. But what I want to argue is that and that's the dominant view out there. Everyone's saying I don't know why they've gone to the takeovers panel. They can't fucking what do they even ask for here? They can't get anything done. Blah 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 blah. I actually disagree, and I think they've got a chance at actually disrupting this deal, and I'm going to explain why. But so now assume that Ramelius actually has a chance to blow the deal up, but the only way they could blow the deal up is by showing their hand. You pull the fucking trigger.
There has to be an option C out there.
Option C is 5D chess, and fucking if they're playing 5D chess, good on them. But look, here's what I want to pose to you guys. The big question here is why the heck would they reveal their hand with their pitch to the takeovers panel? Right? They never reveal their cards, like you said, but now they have, and I think the answer is because they've got a chance here. The way the Karora deal is drafted specifically excludes Ramelius or anyone else in a standstill agreement for that matter from making a superior proposal for Westgold. There's no fiduciary out for an existing bidder, which I think is likely to fall foul of the takeovers panel. Anyone with a standstill agreement in place likely has done so with the view of assessing a transaction with Westgold. And the wording removes all possibility of an existing potential acquirer making an offer and is limited to those that aren't yet on the scene or are restricted, right? So it's not exactly a fair market for control. Precedents matter here, as they do in every transaction. There was a takeover battle for AusNet back in 2021. That saw the takeovers panel declare unacceptable circumstances with respect to aspects of the exclusivity arrangement. Specifically, the no fiduciary out to the no talk restriction was deemed to be anti-competitive. They annulled the confidentiality deed 2 business days after the orders were made, which let the alternate bidders, APA, in for a look at the books. And the question is, does a standstill survive termination of the confidentiality agreement? The AusNet ruling is that the CA is void, but makes no reference to a standstill, right? And the drafting from Ramelius's panel application yesterday suggests that the confidentiality and standstill provisions are all wrapped in the one deed. That's pretty normal and commonplace. But in any case, the AusNet orders made were with reference to exclusivity arrangements and not specifically the CA itself. So there's precedent here for the takeovers panel annulling an agreement where the associated exclusivity arrangements have an anti-competitive effect. And this Westgold Karora deal is very clearly structured to be anti-competitive to any Ramelius bid for Westgold. Like, they can't bid at any price. Ramelius is blocked out of it because they've got this standstill, like that's anti-competitive. So Ramelius is asking for a takeovers panel ruling on the unreasonable lockup of the standstill, as well as they're asking a punitive break fee to be relooked at and synergy disclosure issues, which, whatever, right? But that's not the big picture.
Yeah, well, they're probably not wrong about the synergies besides corporate ones. But the unreasonable lockup of the standstill, it's only unreasonable now because they're in this deal. Wasn't unreasonable before that, was it?
That's right. But it's like there's nothing untoward there. Yeah.
So how does this? Is there any the fact that there's Canadian law involved? It's like
this is a Canadian plan of arrangement, not an Australian scheme of arrangement.
So what effect does that have on this takeovers panel? This is the Australian takeovers panel.
Excellent question.
Thank you, Travis.
So, and this is the bit that's uncertain, right? So, assuming the jurisdiction would fall in Canada, given it's a Canadian plan of arrangement. This is way out of my pay grade, I must accept. I don't know the answer, Matty, right? This is probably the sticking point. The panel has jurisdiction to rule on all corporate control transactions in widely held Australian entities, but how far does that actually extend? For example, annulling exclusivity agreements subject to foreign law, can they do that? What if, note that they would only need to annul the Westgold Ramelius confidentiality agreement that is subject to Aussie law in order to break the standstill and let Ramelius bid for Westgold. So I don't think it's a certainty that the takeover panel actually make orders here. All I'm saying is that, Ramelius have a fucking case.
Yeah, well, and look at when Ramelius finished exclusivity with Karora. Karora immediately announced there's a third party, and then the Westgold deal comes out. Hypothetically, if Westgold put in when Ramelius and Karora are in exclusivity, Westgold were in whatever way, shape or form said, instead of paying $5, we'll pay you $6.
Yeah, that bit's murky. That bit is really murky.
What happens there?
Because so, I don't know how that eventuated.
Because it all happened very fucking quickly afterwards.
You are 100% right. So, Karora was in exclusivity with Ramelius, and that was blown up, and then they were immediately in exclusivity with Westgold. And now, when you're in exclusivity, the onus is on you as one of the parties in exclusivity not to solicit, not to shop, not to talk, all of those sort of things, right? You might be tabled an alternative offer from someone else, but it has to be, a bloody blah superior proposal in order for, that alternative. There's all of these. There might have been matching rights in the exclusivity and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know how that stuff unfolded. I don't know what it looked like for Westgold coming in over the top. I don't know if that was all above board or not. It definitely raises some questions, but I actually think that the onus is on Karora and their advisors if anything dubious happened there, because they should not have been, there should have been no shopping, no talking, all that sort of stuff must have been above board unless there was a tabled superior proposal. Remember, we got into all of this bloody weeds when the whole St. Barbara, Leonora stuff was going on. There is a point to make in relation to how all of this came together, because there is some very thoughtful structuring in this agreement between Westgold and Karora. There's a lot to me in this agreement that looks like it took a lot longer than 11 fucking days to create, which was the time between Ramelius walking and this document being signed. There is it's structured in such a way to block Ramelius from bidding for either of them. It's also structured in such a way that Westgold happened to end up holding 50.1% of the combined entity and Karora 49.9%. And that, I think, is because there's this ASX listing rule where if you more than double your shares on issue via an acquisition, then shareholders need to vote. So they've kind of come up with this structure to prevent Westgold shareholders probably from having to vote on this themselves. It's only the Karora vote, right? But the agreement actually does capture a potential Westgold vote if it just so happens to be required. All of this sort of stuff takes time to put to pen and paper. It would astound me if they came up with all of this in the 11 days. And that's where I think there could be some bad blood involved if there's, some potential alternative deal making happening at the same time as exclusivity with Ramelius is underway. And that might kind of explain all the agitation and the takeovers panel stuff in the first place too.
Although you would have Westgold potentially scheming and understanding, writing out a list of
that's true.
This is what we want.
That's true.
They could have
done a lot of that, themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And there's the other aspect of the break fee, which I don't think we've discussed yet. And
which is fucking high compared to what
standard.
Is the standard 1%. This one's 4%.
So even
Westgold's market cap.
Even if Ramelius could get to the point where they can put in a competing bid for Westgold, despite the value destruction that's happened along the way to get there with their share price moving, in opposite directions to what would make a deal more conducive, you've got another $40 million which Ramelius don't want to have to pay because it makes the deal once more less attractive. And they're arguing that it is substantially 4 times essentially what the standard rate is at 4% roughly versus 1%. So that's a whole nother juicy detail.
Yeah, because imagine the deal kind of does, they're successful in this takeovers panel, blah, blah, blah. The stance is null and void, and they actually want to bid for Westgold. Well, in the process of doing that, tabling the superior proposal, because Westgold engaged them for their superior proposal, Westgold is obliged to pay the $40 million fee to Karora. But hang on, if Ramelius want Westgold, that $40 million liability is now Ramelius's.
Which is actually the reverse break fee.
So what do you think with all this going on, what the Karora shareholders are going to think, the ones that have to vote on it?
It's a really good question. And you need a higher proportion.
That could fucking shit itself.
I think they need 66% to vote in a Canadian, which is, so then they need a decent amount to vote for it. Could it
provide that just enough element of risk to not vote for it?
There's definitely risk there, I think. I do think that I haven't done the analysis on their register, but often if you're pissed off and you're upset, you sell your shares. Like, I don't know what the register would have to have some, sufficient players on there who are pretty motivated to vote the other way and have an alternative plan.
And one of the big attractions was that Aussie gold miners are getting valued better than Canadian ones. That's not changed by these facts.
Fucking very, very fascinating. More simple interpretation? The nil premium merger you talk about, Ramelius is the majority owner of that vehicle. But going down this route, for Westgold merged with Karora, I think they're pretty similar, but there is a chance that pro forma would be bigger than Ramelius, and then if they merge, Mr. Bramwell has the power to run it.
Mate, we know egos matter in deals. Absolutely.
Fucking oath it
absolutely,
does.
Yeah. I don't think either of them is necessarily acting not in the interest of their shareholders. They're both trying to maximise value for their own companies. But I guess I absolutely would agree that both of them would also be wanting to run the pro forma when the two come together.
Mm. Yes. I'm still, if it's true, your theory, still scratching my head why Ramelius would want Big Bell and tougher operations like that. I don't know. Don't know.
Matty, it doesn't stop there, though.
It's about synergies, right? So, like, they've got real synergies in the Murchison that they can realise. You could just draw a fucking map of all the operations there. They can sell the shit they don't want. They don't have to hold on to it. Just realise the synergies, fucking move on, sell the shit you don't want.
And by synergies, would you be switching off some mills?
Probably. Probably. Sell them to a bloody, one of the other hopefuls in the area that's got some, stuff, which you've looked into today.
Yeah, just with the synergies, and that's something I've probably got to dive into. What this synergy would look like, because at the moment, like, everything's close together, but it's all got their own mill.
Yeah, it's long infrastructure, you're right.
Yeah, so it's like, what are the processing synergies if they're already processing and right where they are anyway? That's something I've got to dig into.
Yeah.
But, Jesus Christ, Westgold are doing a lot at the moment, tipping into Aura Gold today.
This one's slightly smaller scale.
Yeah, I know, but it's active.
Yeah,
Bit
absolutely.
of activity. So
what have they done, Matty?
what have they? I'll tell you what they've done, JD. Binding agreement to advance Aura's Crown Prince project into production. So we're on the much smaller scale here, 240,000 ounces at 4.1 grams. So this one's 33 kilometres from Bluebird. Bluebird's 1.6 to 1.8 million tonne. Can process 2.2 on a soft and hard ore mix, and we'll go into why this Crown Prince will suit that. So, and they're separately agreeing on an ore purchase agreement. So Westgold are putting in $6 into Aura at 0.45 cents a share. They're going to be 15% owner of Aura on a fully diluted basis. So 18.7 undiluted with the Oppies. Also, right to an Aura seat. And they get to participate. They get 10 days notice if they want to do another equity raise, so they can pro rata contribute to that. So I'm going to go through the Murchison, see what else is on the radar and what might be going on here. This one, Aura is an interesting one. It looks like it would just be you look at the ounce per vertical metre, it's all bloody 140 metres from the surface. So that's where all it is. So it'd be, that open pit starter, probably easy to rip out. And if you can lift the throughput at Bluebird with more open pit materials, so that's probably a win-win, as we say. But it looks the underground portion, the deeper stuff, below this supergene blanket just looks very inconsistent. So that's like, you got 4 metres at 1.7, 10 at 1.9, then there's 6 at 28.8, but there's a lot of lower grade intersections. And whether it's similar to that hole, there's that supergene enrichment zone and then it sort of dies off. Not sure. So you can see there is a purple higher grade pod down deep, but I think the big thing that got this deal over the line and why all the other hopefuls why Aura got in first is VRIFY.
Of course.
Stacks up, mate. I do know that they use
They
VRIFY.
do.
We've spent a bit of time digging this morning, understanding all the different resources in and around the area, and Aura was just a bit easier to understand.
Well, you think of how easy the DD would have been for Westgold looking at the VRIFY model. So
after they train you up, give you a run through how to use the software and everything.
Yeah, it's sticking out like dog's balls that VRIFY made this easy. And look, VRIFY has just made Aura Gold's $6 million.
Just like that.
Like just six. They had VRIFY, now they get given $6 million. Pretty much for free. So it's...
I don't think an equity contribution is making money.
It depends on how you look at it.
The capital markets are tough these days for juniors.
It's up 20% today.
Some mining companies do think of equity as the revenue line. But VRIFY stops that. It doesn't.
They're already trading at a premium to the raise. Like it's just, you get VRIFY, you just start winning. So
it pays for itself.
Showcase your ore body if you want some a major to tip in bloody 6, 7, 8, $15 million and give you a bit of a share price lift. That's what VRIFY does, and does a shitload more on the AI and geological modelling and just pretty much anything with a drill hole or geophys, geochem. You send it to VRIFY, they send you back a bloody strategic placement. So
Give Grant at VRIFY an email.
love you. Good. Aura says thanks, Verify. So
Matty, this deal was with Aura. This is strategic alignment. Westgold's bloody made a move, but you've gone deep on four other, Murchison wannabe players in that region. And I want you to tell me, why didn't they do the deal with these other players? Are they going to? Are they interesting? Are they exciting? Surprise me.
Not sure how many of them have got Verify. That's probably the first one. But, Great Boulder, the old bag of dicks that we've talked about before. So God bless them. They're even closer to the Bluebird mill. Got bloody triple the ounces in resource than Aura. So 668,000 ounces at 2.8. So half indicated as well. Had some big hits. So 25 Ks away. So
more ounces, looks higher grade, closer to the mill. Must be a catch, Matty. $35 million market cap.
Yeah, don't know.
It's just is it deep or is it skinny or what's the?
I think there's a lot of, there's a bit vertical, there's a bit horizontal, so I'm not sure of the complexity of it, but it's one that is probably
on the radar.
It will be one of the most talked about as the most logical one
at some point.
Come in at some point. Then Meeka Metals, the Davidson boys.
So Meeka's they picked up the old Andy Well.
So then they got their Turnberry and St. Anne's, but most of you look at the production schedule, it's all coming out of Andy Well. They mine about 47,000 ounces out of open pits. Mining, the constraint with Meeka, it's obviously, one will be I think the ground was a bit tough there historically. I'm not sure if it's...
At Andy Well?
Yeah, and you can see the future developments going below that, so whether that might cause concerns or not, but...
They put out a DFS today, didn't they?
Yeah, so you see that their constraint is... Their existing Andy Well plant is 500,000 tonne per annum throughput. Only, I think it's 340,000 of fresh rock can go through it. So you look at the schedule here, they're mining up to 64,000 ounces in year 4, but they're only recovering a max of 55,000 ounces. So it's all because they're constrained by the throughput of that mill. So they've put $44 on for the pre-production capital. So assuming they're going to refurb their existing mill, and it said they've got preferred debt provider. So looking, they're going to fund a lot of it with debt. But yeah, so I'd assume toll trading would be preferable for them. So because if you do refurb that mill, you can't get the gold as quick as you want because you're constrained by that throughput. So they're further north than Crown Prince, which is the Aura one. So they're 60 Ks from Bluebird, so not too far. 150 kilometres from Plutonic Butte.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah,
So we're straight
Do
up.
they have a hungry mill there?
Not
might
sure.
do. I have to look into that.
Based on the history of that mine,
They bought Vango. I wonder if they're feeding that into. I have to check that anyway.
That's something we've got to check. But that's an interesting one. This one? I haven't looked into this yet till today. Rumble Resources.
Well, we actually one of the money miners sent this in.
Nah, we knew about it before that.
I'll tell you how I knew about it.
We knew about it.
Make it look like it's my idea.
We knew about Rumble and the Irahidi project. But
so lead, silver, zinc, and new because that's where ex-Poseidon, ex-Panoramic Peter Harold has gone to as MD.
I remember in 2021 they had this hit and it 7 bagged in basically overnight, and then it just drifted back down. I think it's below where it was before even that these days, and then pivoted back to gold again.
Yeah, well, check this out on the map. This is why it was like, and we're like, what are we fucking missing here? Right near Dalgaranga, the Spartan jobby, also within distance of Westgold's Tuckabianna and Ramelius's Mount Magnet. It could go anywhere. Just did a cap raise to start drilling into this Western Queen deposit. So, even though the flagship was this silver, lead, zinc thing in Walloona, gold price is up. Better start drilling the gold again because this thing's, I think they were going to even sell it a while ago. But it 163,000 ounces at 2.4 grams. So they got some pretty high grade historical hits they're following up.
I saw that resource. Yeah, I saw that. Sorry, I'll cut you off then. Do you want to say that?
No, you're right. Just fucking send it.
I saw that resource, right? So
I'm not cutting anything today.
163,000 ounces at 2.4 grams, but that was like 2 million tons or something. I saw that just with my dumb brain, and I was like, Spartan should fucking buy this. Like, everyone questions how you gonna fill the mill? How you gonna fill the mill? We'll fucking buy this, and then you fill the mill for a couple of years. Like, but
you bloody bankers just look at maps and numbers. Now that I'm educating you on rocks, ultramafic. It's all in ultramafic apparently, and that's the pus ground. That's the pus ground you usually associate with nickel. But then you look at the announcement here. It says the skarn, which is is the high grade section, which contains the gold. The skarn is just the weak area that the gold fluids feed into, is tremolite, which is a fibrous material like asbestos. So not a deal breaker. It just means if you practically, when you're doing it, watering the shit out of it, dust mask for everyone. It's just a thing that has to be managed. But as I said, Peter Harold's the MD. He was at Panoramic for 19 years mining nickel. So if anyone knows how to mine ultramafic, it's him. So
well, worth mentioning as well, you said 160,000 ounces, but 100 are inferred. So more work
and
needs to be
done. More drilling to be done.
You can see a lot of assumptions of this resource extending where it doesn't look like there's too many drill holes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
open at depth.
Question marks for sure.
Open at depth. So yeah, it'd be a bit challenging. So it's whether they want to. You got to think as well, adding ultramafic dirt with tremolite, not sure on the metallurgy wise, if you just throw that in someone else's mill and mix it with their dirt, if it has any effect on recoveries or anything like that, or reagents, or not sure. So, but I'm sure when you're chucking a completely different rock into another rock, it just mightn't work as well unless you do that as a parcel. Mm-hmm. So here's one out of left field or right field, sort of, because it's east a bit. It's up near the Reedies thing, the old Karora Monument Mining. So this is one TSX listed, but I haven't heard about it till today. But I remember they bought the Karora project off Kentor Gold. Kentor went into admin in 2013. Monument bought it in 2014. Haven't really done anything. They were doing studies on it. It's been sitting there for bloody ages. So 269,000 ounces at 2.9 grams. So, but it's a bit under it. Bit under half of it is in this NOA78 ore body. And if you look at the met data from the NI43 doc, this region contains black shale and is not amenable to heap leach, and CIL recoveries are low, 78% in the fresh rock, because it was previously a flotation. All the 50 odd thousand ounces they produced were via flotation. So I think the oxide stuff they were producing must have had copper in it. But I'm not sure if there's a little plant out there. Yeah. But yeah, they're and then there's obviously Spartan. Spartan's interesting because
ding ding ding, get that out the way.
Oh yeah, fuck! I wish I was a ding ding. If I had cash, I would have bought him at 58. I fucking told you I would have, but she's tied up elsewhere. How Spartan will be looked at with what all this is going on, because I think if Westgold and Ramelius get together, that pretty much takes away the two main people that you thought would buy Spartan. I think Spartan are going it alone anyway.
Maybe they are going it alone, but I don't think it just because. Yeah, I don't see it that way. I just think like you realise even more synergies by bringing. Like remember Ali's pitch, the bloody menage a trois.
What's this? Unless you process Never Never at Tuckabianna or Mount Magnet, like that would be the synergy. But they've got a mill there.
Can't you send Musgrave to fucking Never Never? You know, like I mean, you could send that anywhere. It's that high grade. Like yeah. It runs out fast. I get that, but like
so because it's a bit close. It's closer than bloody Mount Magnet. Yeah, so you can save on some kilometres there. Yeah. That's a synergy.
Exactly.
That is a synergy. Oh, yeah. Fuck, she's all go. Now, so those Murchison hopefuls I just mentioned, I know for a fact that one of them inquired about a GetWet bladder.
Good on him.
Now, that is the proactivity I want to see.
I
don't know if I should say which one, but if the next one is the one to get another tip in from Westgold, I know why. It's because they're being proactive about water management and they want to get wet bladder, and it's pretty much because I know those people listen to the show and they have taken action to start. They don't want to put a turkey's nest in. They don't want to. They want get wet bladders to get the water going for their potential mine.
It's just flexibility to the moon. It's cheaper, it's faster, it's better, you get better flow rates. It's like, mate, it's everything you could possibly want if you're actually serious about mining.
Yeah. So get serious and get wet. Isn't that, how many rules have we got to live by these days, JD? We've made a few up this week.
They're rules that make your life easier, mate.
Oh, fuck.
Well worth living by.
Dead. What a bloody... what are we waiting for? What the next thing we're waiting for is to see what this takeover panel does. Is that what we're waiting for?
That will happen. Mate, I'm surprised neither of them have actually put out an announcement to talk about it. So they're being very cautious in there. Like, you know, I would have thought you'd have, you know, Westgold say we acknowledge, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know. I'm just surprised to have seen nothing, to be honest. But yeah, like let's see what happens next there. It is a curious thing because this deal with Aura, it's like that's not at all the other ones in the region you talked about there, Matty. They're more advanced in some ways. So is the read through that like the acquirers in the region being, you know, Ramelius and Westgold have kind of, you know, run the ruler over everything else there is in the region, and like that, you know, that it's just not for them? Or do you why move on Aura first if it's the most premature of the most?
Just looks like an easy open pit.
Yeah.
That supergene layer where all the answers are, it's just fucking hook in. Like,
yeah,
I think it might be as simple as that.
Yeah. Cool. And they use VRIFY, so yeah.
So do we have to? Should we even talk about BHP Anglo? Fucking worn out after that. That's exciting. It's just exciting. This is what we've been, that fucking Ramelius Westgold thing. This is what we've been missing. Like, because
it has actually been happening in BHP fucking Anglo.
Yeah, but like they're not like we like the local shit. Like Genesis, Silver Lake, bloody Westgold Ramelius. That I love it.
Yeah, it is good.
Righto, BHP Anglo. It's not going ahead.
It is not happening, Matty. So a bit of drama in the way it sort of came about in the last couple of days. We were sitting here, like you said earlier, Trav, and saw the announcement come out yesterday. BHP trying to force the hand of Anglo, saying they want a further extension. Anglo didn't play ball at the end of the day, and BHP, you know, essentially, according to Anglo, hadn't done enough to warrant an extension. So subsequently, we see BHP come out this morning and say they do not intend to make a firm offer. They're walking away, and there's a couple terms under which they can come back if they so wish in the unlikely scenario. It's interesting.
Which you don't think is going to happen, Trav.
I put a line through it.
Nah.
Yeah.
Gornskis.
Go on.
It's interesting to see the reaction from the companies as well as the market to this. So BHP proudly saying that they stayed disciplined on price, and they're pointing to their capital allocation framework, which I think they should just about get trademarked at this point. They reference it so bloody much. And then on the flip side, you've got Anglo saying they've got this strategy, their gold alone strategy. They're going to strip out the non-core assets, flog them, be focused, you know, be leaner, be more cash generative, working off a lower cost base. And no doubt the bankers who would have been working pretty hard on the Anglo side are going to be busy because there is a shitload of fees to be made, you know, selling De Beers, selling Amplats, selling the Aussie coal assets, getting rid of the Samancor stake, to mention just a few of them. Looking at the stocks, Matty, Anglo share price came off 4%. So
did you think it had come off a lot more?
That's the interesting sort of point. I think they can thank BHP for in one part shining a bit of light on the value of the assets. It's reflected to the market and honestly, to the broader world, there was people that don't normally talk about mining actually looking at this, looking at copper and what's needed. And you can see now, 21-ish pounds before, now just under 25 pounds. So, yeah, I think they can thank BHP in part for that. And on the flip side, you got BHP, who actually came off slightly. We'd sort of seen they'd ticked their way back up following that second rejection when people started to think, there's not going to be a deal that's going ahead. Ultimately, yesterday, a bit of a muted reaction, and it shows a bit of an indifference. I don't think shareholders are massively delighted or distraught that a deal hasn't gone through at the end of the day here.
I would have thought it'd fall off less, to be honest, Matty, because I just thought it was pretty much priced in that BHP weren't going to make it. The deal wasn't going to happen by the end there. It was like, yeah. And when it came out like that, a week had progressed from the extension and BHP had not moved at all. They had not moved on structure. They had not moved on price. Like, for us, that kind of just poses the question, did they, was this a fucking red herring the whole time, Did they even fucking want this?
Well, I think we'll get into that, but I also think they might have, changed their structure. Everything we've been hearing about has been, we did this a week ago. We did this 10 days ago. So they could have been doing that in the background. We might not have known until a couple of days later.
I don't know, because I think in the first BHP announcement, you would have had the admission of what they'd moved on. They would have put the pressure on. BHP announcement, Anglo response, BHP announcement. First one would have said, we propose this and we want a further extension.
Are you talking about
further.
yesterday?
Yeah.
I totally agree, but that's at the end of the week.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have, like you said, found out in the week before. So you asked the question, why did the deal fail? And ultimately, like all M&A, it sort of comes down to price. But there's obviously a bit more nuance. You've got the complexity and the structure and those words.
I don't think it's price here. It is price, but it's
always price.
That's what old Sheppo said. He said that he said it was just never going to work based on the replacement value of.
No, what I'm saying is price is why M&A goes ahead or doesn't go ahead. And obviously there's more nuance at the end of the day. But had they offered more,
they moved on price. I think if they showed any ability to move on structure, you'd have a different outcome here. I think the takeaway from the conversation with Sheppo and all of Sheppo's writing is it's the other factors that they have been incompetent at or amateurish at that have doomed them from the beginning and their inability to deviate from their unworkable structure in the first place.
He did also say that he didn't feel like BHP would have to offer bloody 50 pounds to get
money. We mentioned price as the first thing in the interview to him, and I think that was actually an injustice to him because read his LinkedIn posts and 99% of them are about structure.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at the wording which he pointed to, the little requirement to pursue 2 contemporaneous demergers, blah, 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 interconditional nature of the 3 transactions is unprecedented. That's sort of etched into how we think about it. And at the end of the day, Anglo was saying they were never getting compensated for the risk that they had to bear by spinning out Kumba and Amplats. And, one of the chief reasons behind this was that distributing the shares in Kumba and Amplats, and that they believed they exposed themselves to the South African government coming in and using that opportunity, that change in control to sort of force more jobs, capital spending, black empowerment conditions, and essentially further value destruction. So ultimately, I think Mike and BHP saw an opportunity. They saw a company that they liked the assets in, that they liked some of the assets in. They thought they were being a bit opportunistic and that they could pick it up and they would have been happy to pick it up at that price, and they sort of went for it. But like you sort of say, it brings us to the question of how badly did they really want it? Could they genuinely have managed the takeover so badly, or did they just actually not want it? Was the gist of what they were doing to try and wake up the BHP board? And this is what we discussed, like you said, Trav, with Sheppo in yesterday's episode. And I think despite the deal being dead, it's worth going back and listening to what he had to say about it, because there's a bigger picture and it's definitely not all played out yet. And the idea is that Henry is prodding the BHP board, telling them they need to get comfortable with different jurisdictions if they want copper growth. It's not going to come through the assets that they have. And in the process, like I said, I think it has woken up the world a bit more to the fact that there's a copper shortage going on. And obviously in the background, we've had this, pretty unique squeeze in the copper price reaching nominal all-time highs. And that's a bit of a separate matter. I don't think it helped BHP's bid going on at the same time. But you've got a flood of press from people like the New York Times and stuff who couldn't care less about copper generally, talking about what's going on. And that's a good thing because there's a shitload of investment that is needed to get these copper projects going. I mean, we talk about the buy versus build debate quite a bit, and it's just outrageously skewed at the moment. Building a project is barely an option when you're talking about the scale of projects that BHP wants to own. It's not even in contention. You look at Tech Resources QB2, and it's just a great example. US $9 billion to build a 300,000 tonne per annum operation. That took 5 years to build the operation. I'm not talking about like the permitting, the engineering, the discovery. 5 years just to build the thing, $9 billion. It hasn't even hit nameplate yet in the 5 years since construction. You've got Cobre Panama.
You got to credit Risk Speculator for that fun fact.
Yeah, that one. And then Cobre Panama is another one as well, where, you put the country troubles aside, that cost $7 billion just for the initial bit up until 2019 to build. 350,000 tonnes per annum would have got to at that point, on its way to 400,000, with again further investment needed. And that is a decade after construction first started. In 2013 is when they started there. And again, discovery was just way back in the past. So
what about Rio?
Well, I mean, we heard Sheppo talk about it, and he gave the point that investors in the market gave Rio a lot of grief for going into a risky jurisdiction like Mongolia. But that's, like he said, now put them in pretty great shape. And I think all of this is to say, are we going to see the big players out there, the BHPs of the world, enter Africa in the hunt for copper? And has Robert Friedland sort of shown the way that it can be done there? You look at the big players out there, Freeport, they've been in the DRC before. They sort of shot themselves in the foot for different reasons and had to exit 10K. Glencore, they've got no fear of places like that. They've been there in the past. They're still in there. They own assets. Actually, they're on the way out in Zambia
kicked out
for other things that they've done. Yeah. And Rio, to their credit, it's not in copper, but they are putting a fair bit of risk capital in the ground in Guinea, in Africa, and that's obviously for an iron ore project. But at the end of the day, I think you're going to have Chinese parties or you're going to have Arab groups that are going to come in and snap up these assets like they've been doing for the past decade if Western miners don't do it. So what do you guys think? Do you think we'll actually feasibly see in the next 5 years or so a player like BHP go into the Central African copper belt and do something?
Could Ivanhoe be bought?
Yes, you have to pay through the roof.
Could BHP ever buy them?
I would never want to be on the other side of a negotiating table with Robert Friedland.
Jesus Christ, they'd have to pay some dosh.
Yeah. And that's for the, like we've spoken about before, that's for the roughly 40% where you've got the
Zijin partnership.
ZG and the government of the DRC.
I think the bigger question, obviously if BlackRock's out there saying it's cheaper to buy than build at the moment, but it doesn't, buying Ivanhoe doesn't solve the giant copper shortage problem. Like what would be the best outcome for society is like these.
By the way, BHP'd never partner with China, would they?
No,
I mean,
do they?
They do, yeah.
They sell everything to China.
But do they partner on operations with them?
I don't think it's off the table. But
the best thing would be for society would be BHP, these giant miners really committing to serious exploration in a proper way, but in these parts of the world that have phenomenal mineral endowments that are yet to be exploited for various reasons. And Africa is that is where so much of that is
where the good shit is.
DRC is so much of that is there. I mean, you listen to some of Friedland stuff and yeah, he actually he explicitly mentions in, I think it was his Qatari talk either last year or this year, I can't remember which one, but he gets asked, would BHP ever buy you? And you know what he says? They already tried to read the FT article. They can't. I think the reality is BHP have a JV with Friedland, by the way. They do work together. There's blah blah blah, but I think the BHP shareholders and BHP's board are gonna have to get comfortable with them being in jurisdictions that they have been scared to see BHP go into, and they're gonna have to go there in a really, really meaningful way.
But are they going to build anything?
I hope so. I do hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely hope so, because
have to at some point.
It reminds me of what Mark Bristow said not too long ago. Is all this M&A and stuff. It doesn't actually change anything about the copper supply shortage. It just changes who might profit from a rising copper price. But if nothing's actually getting built, it's not going to remedy a shortage. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. And there might be a sort of big come to Jesus moment for the world and, you know, big mining jurisdictions having to strip back all that is in the way of building projects, because that is the huge thing that stands in the way of a lot of these things being brought forward, is how long it takes to get. And it's not all that, you know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, engineering and whatnot, but one of the big hurdles is the permitting.
Yeah.
And
do you think, Trav, the middle ground is, you're saying BHP going, like, trying to find these projects, wouldn't the middle ground be buying Cussabel or Philo, like something that's been proven up, and actually building that?
Yeah, totally.
Does it make more sense for BHP?
It could make sense. I mean, like, yeah, I do think those things, those projects should get built, and like, you know, is BHP a decent partner to do it or be part of it? Like, for sure, totally, yeah. There's still, that stuff's going to take a long time to happen still, and it looks like BHP they want copper now. Yeah. I mean, like, is Freeport even out of the question? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So, I mean, just
are they probably the only other logical, like, who would you think that they could, now that, say this Anglo thing, nothing happens out of it, who would be another logical place for BHP to look? Would it be Freeport, as you said? What they could literally put a deal to?
People always say Freeport trades at a high multiple, so the deal doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. That's true, but it's got a fairly open register, you know, comparatively to any other options out there. Or you go down, you start looking kind of at the development plays, but you've got to have a, you know, multi-decade outlook for development alone. So realising the benefit, like, you have to just, like, deals often get done because the CEO only really thinks about their tenure as CEO. Like, BHP is not a founder-led company. It's a professional class CEO kind of company, like Seppo talks about. So it's rare to see these sort of CEOs take that kind of view when they're not going to realise the benefit of that long-term development in some ways too. But
it's just a game of chess, isn't it?
Yeah. I think to wrap on Anglo, they announced plans to rip themselves apart back in 2016. Metals prices actually moved in their favour. They didn't have to spin out all the assets they announced that they were going to, so remains to be seen what happens and who buys the assets that they do want to sell. That'd be an interesting one for us to follow. And then on the BHP front, like you sort of said there, Trav, I'm sure Mike Henry wants a big deal to sort of slap his name and his legacy on, so it's back to the drawing board for a little while.
It might not even be the drawing board. This might be the plan all along.
Yeah, it could be. Like,
so do you think someone else is going to look at Anglo, or they're going to implement this strategic review that they've new strategy, and Anglo's going to go on their own Anglo journey?
I think, like, you know, the world's now kind of realised where the value in Anglo is. The onus is going to be on management, i.e. Duncan, to deliver on some of that. I think there's a decent chance that at some point Anglo shareholders might get a bit fatigued with Duncan's maybe inability to deliver as in a way that he wants to, and at that point, I reckon Glencore would be fucking licking their lips.
yeah, except for Woodsmith.
Yeah, no one fucking values that with anything anyway.
Fuck, you never know. I'd love to see polyhalite go through the roof. Oh, well, I'm fatigued after that. Trav, I love when, like, you're fatigued and I interrupt you more, and, like, it fucking sends you into a...
Mate, I've written the questions for you to ask me and you fucking go off script.
Ah, fuck that.
Since when have we ever followed the script?
Since when have I followed the script? Tell me what to do.
Gave up on that years ago, Trav.
Oh, we had to cut the last two stories. Right, thanks to the bloody partners. Our friggin'... What a bloody partner. What a show to be a partner of today. What a rip snorter. VRIFY.
GetWet Solutions. Thank you.
DSI Underground.
Silverstone. Thanks, guys.
Oh, we've confirmed that DSI send bolts to Adriatic.
Yeah. more words to be had on that one
And
later.
correction, the ground is good in the ore at Adriatic.
Yeah.
My hypothesis was, my assumption was not correct.
We'll also thank
Apparently.
CRE Insurance, WA Water Bores, Brooks Airways and Maddie.
K-Drill. And who do you use, JD, for your charts?
Spark is the one and only place to go.
Oh, fucking you better.
All the
You
charts,
have to.
mate.
Hootaroo, money
Charts,
miners.
just animations,
Fucking love
Christmas
a,
trees.
fucking love a candlestick.
Hootaroo.
The information contained in this episode of Money of Mine is of general nature only and does not take into account the objectives, financial situation or needs of any particular person. Before making any investment decision, you should consult with your financial advisor and consider how appropriate the advice is to your objectives, financial situation and needs.